Hi, and welcome back to Cooking with Katie. I'm a registered dietitian with White Earth Public Health. I'm coming to you from my kitchen to prepare a meal prep recipe in the style of a meal in a bowl, which is kind of another version of a stir-fry recipe. I love to meal prep because it leaves you with healthy choices in a pinch. This could be for a meal or snacks, and could be for you or your family members. While we prepare our meal today, I went with a twist on a stir-fry because of the versatility of this dish. The recipe today provides an outline for having a protein, some vegetables, and a carbohydrate, and serving this over your favorite type of stir-fry sauce. But you can make this recipe however you like and using what you have. So today we are going to make a sesame chicken bowl with quinoa. So let's get started. Okay, so first we're gonna go ahead and start with our quinoa here. And I did go ahead and rinse it first. And we wanna make sure to do that because we wanna rinse off the natural coating. It's called saponin, because if we don't do that, it'll leave our cooked quinoa with kind of a bitter and soapy taste. So some quinoa do come pre-rinsed, so check your label and you could maybe save yourself some extra work. So I have 3/4 cup quinoa here. I'm gonna go ahead and pour it in my pan. I am just gonna kind of toast it for just like a minute or so before I go ahead and add my broth. Once quinoa cooks, it will cook a lot like a rice does, and it's gonna triple. So we should come up with about 2 cups once we're done. You could see when I showed it to you there on the camera that it's kind of like a white, red, and a black. You can buy it in one color, tri-colored. Remember, quinoa, no matter the color and how you cook it, they do have the same nutritional value, so the color doesn't make any difference. I'm just gonna let that toast here. I did choose to cook with quinoa today. I definitely could have used like a brown rice or something else to go with my bowl, but I've talked a lot about it, and just in case some people aren't as familiar with it, I just kind of wanted to cook with it. So, just gonna let that toast away. As I've talked about in my other videos, I do often use quinoa in place of like a grain, like a rice or a pasta. And quinoa has become one of those great superfoods because it has been around for quite a while. Quinoa is rich in fiber, minerals, and antioxidants, and contains all essential 9 amino acids, this making itself a complete protein. It can help improve blood sugars, heart health, digestion, just to name a few things. And the biggest plus about quinoa is gluten-free. So it makes for an awesome substitute for maybe some individuals with allergies or sensitivities in your life. And it's super easy to make, versatile, and it's delicious. You may ask, why do I substitute for quinoa in place of white rice or brown rice? So let's kind of compare them nutritionally. So as far as quinoa versus a brown rice they're pretty much, as far as calories and carb wise, they're the same, very similar. Protein is where we see the difference. In 1 cup of brown rice, you get about 5 grams of protein, where in 1 cup of quinoa, you get about 8 grams of protein. So a little bit more, and same dietary fiber wise, they sit about the same level. Now, where you see the big difference is when you would compare quinoa, which is similar to like a whole grain item, versus it to like a white rice. Where as far as calories and carbs, they again fall kind of in the same place, but coming to protein, kind of the difference with white rice and brown rice, they're a little bit similar, about 4 grams of protein for a cup of rice and 8 grams for your quinoa. And then your big difference is where you're gonna see your dietary fiber. You only have about 1/2 gram of dietary fiber in your white rice, where you have that about 3.5 grams in your quinoa. So that's a big difference, and that makes a big difference in our health, getting that whole grain item. So I think I've toasted this long enough, so I am gonna go ahead and put in, because I had 3/4 cup of quinoa, I'm gonna double my liquid. So this is 1.5 cups of low sodium chicken broth. Now you can use chicken broth, or you can go ahead and use water as well, whatever you work, and any kind of broth can work, vegetable, your bone broth, things like that, whatever you have on hand. Now, if you were to go ahead and go shopping for quinoa, you're not gonna find it right next to your rice or pasta. It tends to be in like some specialty sections, like maybe with some other gluten-free products, or if your store has an organic section, it would be there. So now our quinoa, I just went ahead and put it together. So there, it just looks like it's cooking away like rice would. So now we're gonna bring this to a boil and let it simmer for about 15 or 20 minutes until the liquid is absorbed. And then we will pull it off the heat, let it set for a few minutes, and then just fluff it, you know, like you would with rice before we serve it. Okay, so next we are gonna make our stir fry sauce, which this recipe provides you with a sesame sauce. It's really simple to whip together, so we'll just go ahead and get started. So the first thing I have is a 1/4 cup of low sodium chicken broth. And then I have a 1/4 of a cup of reduced sodium soy sauce. And then I have a 1/4 cup of honey. Scoop that all in. Use my fork and clean it up. Okay. And then I have 1 tablespoon of sesame oil, but you can certainly use any kind of oil. The one thing that the sesame oil brings to the dish is it does kind of have a nutty flavor. So your choice. And then I think I'm gonna stir this together just a little bit. The last thing that we will add is 1 tablespoon of cornstarch, and then that will just thicken the sauce when we add it to our meat. This stir fry sauce also does call for red pepper flakes, but I don't really care for the heat, so I did go ahead and leave that out. So that's one thing that you can control the ingredients that you do or don't like when you make your own sauce. But you can certainly add more or less, and you can put some and not all, you know, things like that. Like I said, I did go ahead and make my own stir fry sauce as we're doing right here, but you can certainly buy some stir fry sauce. One thing, it is nice when you do make your own, you can control the ingredients that you include in your sauce. And especially with stir fry sauces that, you know, contain chicken broth and soy sauce most often, they do tend to be high in sodium. So by making it yourself, you can control the sodium content in there by choosing those lower sodium ingredients to mix in. Now, when you go ahead and make your stir fry, if you do have like another favorite version of stir fry sauce, that, you know, make it as your own and do what you'd like. So you can add any flavor to it. You definitely, if you just like the vegetable and the meat combination of this dish, you can add any stir fry sauce with it. So there we go. All right, our stir fry sauce is ready to go. We're just gonna set it aside until we're ready to add it to our cooked meat. Okay, so now we are ready to start on our vegetable piece for this dish. So this recipe calls for 6 cups of vegetables. It calls for 3 cups of sugar snap peas and 3 cups of broccoli specifically. I did go ahead and switch it up a little bit. I am going to use a combination of, I did stick with the sugar snap peas and broccoli, but I did just decrease it to 2 cups of those each. And then I went ahead and added about a half a cup to a cup of onions and like a cup of bell peppers. So in my pan, I heated a little bit of a tablespoon of oil here, and I'm just gonna simply just toss in my vegetables, and then I'm gonna kind of stir them really well to get them coated in that oil. So lots of beautiful color in this dish. That's kind of why I did switch it up, just to add a little bit more color in here, because I mean, you get lots of that green, and sugar snap peas and broccoli are super healthy, but I just kind of thought I'd, you know, use some things up in my fridge too. So like I said, if you can piece together a recipe from what you have, you don't have to go specifically by the guidelines or the outline, the ideas. I just say a recipe is always just kind of an idea. It's not a super specific that you have to follow it. So now I'm just gonna let this heat up a little bit more to maybe I hear it sizzle, and then I'm gonna cover it, and then I'll let it cook for probably about 5 to 7 minutes until they're done to your liking or your tenderness, however you like. And also, like I talked about, and along with any other recipes that I provided in the recipe book this week, that the combination of vegetables is totally up to you and to make it your own. So, I mean, other suggestions that just come to the top of my head, like you could do carrots, cabbage, zucchini, Brussels sprouts, cauliflower, like the list goes on, especially as the season changes with vegetables coming out of the garden. So, you know, take what you have available to you. So there's really no wrong way to make a wrong vegetable combination. So with that, we're just gonna cover these up. Like I said, let them cook for 5 to 7 minutes, and then we will be done with our vegetable part. Okay, so before we jump to our vegetables, I'm going to do a little quinoa update here. So this has been cooking now for about 15 minutes. So you can see just a smidge of liquid. I'm not sure if you can see that. I am going to go ahead and shut it off and just let it kind of set and absorb the juice until it's done there and we're ready to use it. So our vegetables are done. They look delicious. I didn't have to add any other liquid, but if you feel like you don't have enough oil, I would put a little bit of water in and then kind of do it like a steaming thing instead of adding a little bit more oil. But with our vegetables done here, I'm just going to go ahead and pour them in a bowl, and then we'll set them aside until we are ready to assemble our meal prep bowls. And then I'm going to put this pan right back on the heat. And I got some nice caramelized color on there, so that's gonna be nice and tasty. Move those back. So I am gonna add a tablespoon of oil into the same skillet here. No need to change. And then kind of let that cover around here. And then I have 2 chicken breasts here that I just cut them up into like bite-sized pieces. And I'm going to go ahead and sprinkle them with a little bit of salt and pepper. Now remember, the protein is the same as our vegetables. Any choice, you know, anything, whatever you have on hand will work. Like I said, today I'm doing chicken. You can do a beef. You can do pork, turkey. You can definitely use ground meat as well. You don't have to use, you know, like a steak or a breast or whatever. But remember, you also have your seafood option too, or the tofu. So there are many options of ways to make that protein. And you can also toss in some beans at the end, or like when you're serving it. So another way to add a little protein. So I'm going to turn my heat back up just a little bit. So now I'm just going to go ahead and recover this chicken and let it cook probably for about 5 to 7 minutes until it's all cooked through. And then we'll be ready to put our sauce in. All right, so our chicken is sizzling away here and it is done. So I am just really kind of loud, sorry. So I'm really just gonna whisk up my sauce one more time, and then I'm just gonna go ahead and pour it in. And then I'm just gonna stir it together. And then I will again recover it. It might kind of come to a simmer, like a really light boil. And then the sauce is gonna thicken. That's why we added that cornstarch in there. So that's what I'm gonna do again. I'm just gonna go ahead and re-simmer this, bring the sauce, let it cook up, and then we will begin to assemble our bowls. So there we go. So our chicken is done here. See it? You can see I did end up adding a little bit more cornstarch because I wanted my sauce a little bit thicker. So definitely just go on what works for you. So our chicken's done, our vegetables are done, and our quinoa is done. So we are ready to go ahead and assemble these meal prep dishes. Now, if you want to obviously just go ahead and eat it for supper, so this is the point where you can go ahead and eat. So I am just going to start assembling. So what I have here, I just have a nice little refrigerator container, Tupperware, that I'm just gonna fill, so then it'll be ready for me to go whenever I need it. I do have, you know, a few more, so the recipe said it makes 4, so that's why I just grabbed the 4. So what I'm going to do, I'm gonna kind of layer this on here. So I am gonna go ahead, and I did go ahead and fluff my quinoa. It looks so nice. Got a little bit more like curly, kind of ball shaped, so it does kind of look, that's what it kind of looks like. And I'm just gonna go ahead and put like a heaping half cup in there. I'm gonna go ahead and measure it just for the purpose of being able to get out of the dish what I want. And I'm just gonna kind of spread that right in my bowl. So that's quite a bit. And remember, this is a high protein, high fiber food, so it's gonna be filling. Now I'm gonna go ahead and put like a good cup of vegetables in there. And this turned out super pretty as well. So like I said, you get a great color combination with whatever you have on hand to use. And you can like just stack it in there too. Just make it however you would like. So go ahead and put my veggies in there. And our last thing, I'm just gonna go ahead and grab some of my chicken. And this all smells so good. It's gonna be delicious. And like, it didn't really cut it out or like point it out like specifically the amounts in the recipe. So I just kind of started with this. And then, once you get them all together, you can add more or less. Now, if you like to add sesame seeds, that's something that is an optional at this point in this dish. I didn't do that, but there it is. Like, look how beautiful and delicious that is. Like I said, you can make it up and like keep it just like a stir fry, however you want to put it together, but there it is. So I'm just going to make this one to show you. But now once I'll let this cool on the counter and it's ready to go in the refrigerator and it's ready for you to take quickly with you for lunch, for supper, for somebody else, for you. So really whippity snippety, healthy, delicious meal ready to go. I probably would maybe grab like a berries or a piece of fruit to go with it. But other than that, it should be super filling. So there we are. So as we close today, I just wanted to touch on a couple of things. I love these bowl recipe type dishes because they are a great, healthy, and extremely versatile dish that is super quick once you've made it. And you can get everything you need in just one simple dish. On the versatility of this dish, an outline of a basic stir fry recipe is, these are the things that you would need. A carb type base or like a side, however you want to call it. And that could be brown rice, quinoa, like we use today, your rice cauliflower, stir fry noodles, zoodles, or spaghetti squash are a few choices. And then you need 1 pound of protein like we did with our chicken today. But you could also do pork, beef, turkey, tofu, beans, the list goes on. And then any combination of 6 cups of vegetables that you would like to use, and then the sauce of your choice, whether you choose to find one on your own and make it yourself, or just use something that you've bought at the store. The outline of the recipe that I just went over is in my recipe booklet this week, along with some more specific like ingredient ideas if you need those, along with some more homemade stir fry recipes. So with that, our meal is all prepped today, and I hope that you really enjoyed today's recipe. And remember, you can find today's recipe along with more recipes and quinoa cooking tips on whiteearth.com. Happy cooking, and we'll see you next week.